Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Friday. Today is September 4th, 2020. You've made it through the third week of school. Give yourself a round of applause. You've learned so much in the last 3 weeks. We started off first with science safety. Then we started learning about various science tools that you will begin to use once you come back to school in the science lab. Then we started to learn about the water cycle and the process that the water goes through during its lifespan. And we talked about precipitation, condensation, evaporation, and we've talked about the importance of the sun, the role of the sun in the water cycle. Then, towards the ending of this week, we began to start studying climate and weather. Today, boys and girls, we're going to continue to venture off into weather. I'm going to share my screen. As I said before, today we're going to go back over weather and climate. Just a brief overview again. Remember, weather is changes that happen day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour. And when we think about climate, we're thinking about a longer span of time. So when you think about climate, I want you to think about the four seasons. So we start off we're leaving summer now and we're getting ready for fall. And remember, it's a longer span of time. So 3 to 4 months of climate. And the climate is helping dictate the weather. And remember, the weather can change from one city to the next. So in Houston today, it may be hot and humid, but if we drive to Dallas or San Antonio, their weather may be different. It may be raining in Dallas, and in San Antonio, the weather it may be cool. So just remember the weather changes day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, and it depends on um the region or the city that you're in. It could change. And then climate again is something that lasts over a period of time. And I want you to keep in mind the four seasons when you think about climate. Today, boys and girls, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into weather. Okay? Boys and girls, how many of you watch the news with your parents sometimes? Okay? How many of you actually watch when they go over the weather? Okay, I know a lot of you do. I know sometimes when I watch the weather, when I'm watching the evening news, they're talking about cold fronts, warm fronts, low pressure, high pressure, the humidity, the precipitation, the temperature is changing. All these different vocabulary words that they're using when they talk about the weather, the meteorologist, that's who goes over the weather. Well, today we're going to focus on four vocabulary words today. We're going to focus on cold fronts, warm fronts, low pressure, and high pressure. The first word that we're going to focus on is a cold front. A cold front happens when cold air advances into warm air. Okay, so say for instance, today the temperature, let's just say it's 85 degrees. Okay, if cold air comes into the warm air, we're going to have a cold front. Okay? So if cold air advances into a warm space, it produces a cold front, meaning the temperatures will decrease. Okay? So again, let's pretend today if the temperature is 90 degrees and cold air, let's just say, comes from the north to Houston in the 90 degrees, it's going to produce a cold front, meaning it's going to take our temperature down. Okay. The second word we're going to learn is a warm front. A warm front is if we're in colder temperatures and warm air comes into the cold air, we're getting a warm front. So, for instance, let's just pretend like it's November. Let's say the temperature is 55 degrees. Okay. That's kind of cold for Houston because we're not used to really low temperatures, but let's just say it's 55 degrees. Now, if warm air comes into the 55 degrees, it's going to produce warmer air. Our temperatures are going to rise, and we're going to have a warm front. Okay, so we're going to go maybe from a 50, maybe to a 60, maybe to a 75, depending on how hot the air is that is coming to the cold air. So if we're looking at our anchor charts on the screen, we see the cold front and we see a warm front. So cold front, cold air masses come, and then with a warm front, warm air masses come. So it's affecting our temperature. Okay? So if a cold front is coming, our temperatures are going to decrease. It's going to become colder, drier. And if we have a warm front, the temperatures increase and the air becomes warmer and wetter, more humid. So again, a cold front. Pretend today the temperature is 95. If cold air comes to us with that temperature of 95, it's going to reduce our temperature, decrease our temperature. Our temperature is going to go from that 90, it may go down to 85 or 70 because a cold front has come in. Now, the opposite is a warm front. If it's November and our temperature is 50 and warm air comes to us, it's going to increase our temperature and it's going to become a little bit more humid. So a warm front is coming. Okay, so it can, maybe November or like maybe April, after spring, we may get a warm front. Okay, so that's the difference between a cold front and a warm front. Our next vocabulary word, high pressure and low pressure. High pressure systems normally associate with dry weather and mostly clear skies. High pressure. Low pressure systems are associated with clouds and precipitation that minimizes temperature and changes throughout the day. A little anchor chart that I found here for you. High pressure systems, happy, the H for high. Happy, bright skies, clear skies, it's sunny, it's cooler and mostly dry. Low pressure, lousy. Bring storms, weather. It's warmer, but it's wet. It's not so pretty outside, okay? So remember, high pressure, sunny skies, low pressure, wet, but warm, but not so pretty outside. Okay, those are our last two. So we have cold fronts, warm fronts, high pressure, low pressure. Okay, boys and girls? And this is all dealing with weather. Okay, remember, weather is affected by various things, and we learned that in our anchor chart that we did the other day, yesterday. Remember, temperature, the rain, clouds, um, the sun, it all affects our weather, okay? And also low pressure, high pressures, cold fronts, warm fronts all affect the weather. Today, for your Schoology connection, a little light activity for the weekend. I want you to view your local news channel, whether it's 11, 13, Channel 2, or the Weather Channel, CNN, whatever you watch for your local news. And I want you to listen for the forecast for the upcoming week. The forecast is the weather. So when the meteorologist gets up and they go over the forecast, that's what I want you to look for. In your journal on page 20, I want you to document what the weather will be like for the next 5 days. So in your journal, you're going to turn to page 20 and you're going to document what the weather will look like for the next 5 days. So in your journal on page 20, you're going to label it Houston, Texas 5-day forecast, and you're going to have 5 columns. You're going to go from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and you're going to document the weather that you see on your local news on page 20. On page 21, we're going to continue to do our vocabulary. On page, sorry, I always get confused. On page 21, you're going to do your vocabulary. And I will take a picture of it again and I will place it in your Schoology folder so that you can see it a little bit better. But on page 21, you're going to continue with your weather vocabulary as well. For your Schoology connection again, on page 20, you're going to document the weather forecast. And on page 21, you're going to do your weather vocabulary. Also in Schoology, I will have a YouTube video for you guys to watch, and it's going to explain high pressure, low pressure, cold and warm fronts a little bit more in detail for you. So again, you just have to watch your local news, chart the 5-day forecast, and continue to update your interactive journal and watch a YouTube clip. So, boys and girls, I hope you learned a lot this week in regards to the water cycle and weather versus climate. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and a holiday. Remember, Monday we don't have school. So, you have one extra day to enjoy time with your family and friends. Do something that you love, and we'll see you back on Tuesday ready for science. Have a great weekend.